You know Harrods. Everyone knows Harrods, the most famous department store in the world, where royalty shops and oligarchs spend more on handbags than most people earn in a year. 7 floors of pure luxury in the heart of Knightsbridge, serving the wealthy and the powerful since 1849. But what you see during opening hours, the pristine displays, the impeccable service, the glittering chandeliers, that's all carefully choreographed theatre, a beautiful performance that ends the moment the last customer leaves and the bronze doors lock for the night. I'm Emma Clark, and I've been working night security at Harrods for 18 months, not the glamorous daytime shifts where you might spot celebrities buying diamonds, but the after hours operations, the time when Harrods serves its real customers, the ones who's been shopping here much longer than any living person, who pay with currency that hasn't existed for decades, and who never, ever leave empty-handed. Here's what they don't tell you in the employee handbook. Harrods isn't just a department store, it's a collection point. After nearly 2 centuries of serving London's elite, the store has accumulated something far more valuable than money or merchandise. It's collected the desires, obsessions, unfulfilled wants of everyone who ever walked through those doors. And some desires are so powerful, so consuming, that death itself can't diminish them. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but I've got proof. Security footage that shows things moving on their own. Sales receipts for purchases made by people who died decades ago. And 11 rules that every night shift worker learns by heart, because breaking them doesn't just cost you your job, it costs you everything. Getting a job at Harrods isn't like applying anywhere else. The interview process alone takes months. Background checks, psychological evaluations, references from previous employees going back years. They told me it was because of the high value merchandise, the celebrity clientele, the need for absolute discretion. But that wasn't the real reason. Night security at Harrods requires specific qualifications, the ability to see things that shouldn't be there, the strength to enforce rules that make no logical sense, and most importantly, the wisdom to understand that some customers should never be refused service, regardless of their current state of existence. The store itself is a masterpiece of Victorian excess. 330 departments spread across 7 floors, each one more opulent than the last. Egyptian escalators, mosaic floors, chandeliers that cost more than houses. During the day, it's controlled chaos. Tourists taking selfies, personal shoppers guiding clients, sale assistants maintaining that perfect Harrods smile. But at closing time, 9 PM sharp, everything changes. On my first night, Security Manager Patricia Blackwood gave me the standard briefing: patrol routes, alarm systems, emergency procedures. Professional, efficient, exactly what you'd expect from one of London's most prestigious retailers. Then she handed me a small leather-bound book. "Learn these rules," she said, her voice carrying 40 years of Harrods authority. "Follow them exactly. Your life depends on it, and so does the reputation of this store." The book was old, much older than it should have been for employee guidelines. The pages were yellowed, the leather worn smooth by countless hands. Inside, written in elegant script that belonged in a Victorian ledger, were 11 rules. Rule 1. The Egyptian hall must be cleaned every night, regardless of what appears on the floor. Rule 2. If customers enter after closing time, serve them normally. Check their payment method discreetly. Rule 3. Never refuse a sale to someone wearing period dress. Their money is always good. Rule 4. The Diana and Dodie Memorial must have fresh flowers daily. She still visits. Rule 5. If mannequins change position overnight, return them to their original poses before morning. Rule 6. The food hall serves all appetites. Some requests may seem unusual. Rule 7. Children asking for their parents must be directed to customer services, regardless of the decade they describe. Rule 8. If the lifts operate on their own, they're collecting customers from other floors. Do not interfere. Rule 9. Payment in old currency should be accepted and exchanged through special channels. Rule 10. The pet department serves all creatures, living and otherwise. Rule 11. If you see yourself shopping in the floor, leave immediately and don't return for 7 days. At the bottom, in Mohammed Al-Fayed's own handwriting, Harrods serves everyone, the living, the dead, and those in between. These rules ensure exceptional service for all of valued customers. I laughed. Had to be some sort of elaborate joke, the kind of thing posh department stores do to make night security feel special. Seriously? I asked Patricia. Her expression remained perfectly composed. That Harrods training never breaks. Emma, you're not working at Argos. This is Harrods. We've been serving London's most discerning customers since 1849. Some of our clients have been shopping here for much longer than that. My first week was surprisingly normal. Night shifts at luxury department stores are usually quiet, just security patrols, cleaning crews, and the occasional delivery. Harrods after hours was peaceful, almost serene. The only sounds were my footsteps echoing through marble corridors and the soft hum of climate control protecting millions of pounds worth of merchandise. But on my 8th night, I learned why they needed those rules. I was doing my 2 AM patrol through the fashion department when I noticed something odd. The mannequins in the Chanel display had moved, not dramatically, just slightly adjustments to their poses, their angles, the way their hands were positioned. Rule 5 flashed through my memory. If mannequins change position overnight, return them to their original poses before morning. I'd worked retail before. Mannequins don't move themselves. Someone was playing tricks on the new girl, trying to spook me with cheap pranks. I repositioned the mannequins according to the photographs we keep for each display, making sure each angle matched perfectly. Professional duty done, I continued my patrol. That's when I heard the voices. Soft conversation drifting through the jewellery department. Multiple people discussing carats and clarity, settings and stones. The kind of detailed conversation that happens when someone's making a serious purchase. But the store was closed, had been for 5 hours. I approached carefully, hand on my radio, ready to call for backup if we had a break-in. But what I found was much stranger than burglars. 3 customers examining diamond rings under the jewellery counter lights. 2 women and a man, all impeccably dressed in what looked like 1920s evening wear. The man wore a white tie and tails, the women draped in silk and pearls that caught the display lighting like starlight. They were solid, real, having a completely normal shopping conversation. "The emerald cut is divine," one woman was saying, "but I'm not so certain about the setting." "Cartier does exceptional work," the man replied, "though Tiffany has a certain American flair that's quite appealing." They noticed me approaching and smiled with the polite acknowledgement wealthy customers give to helpful staff. "Good evening," the man said. "We're looking for an engagement ring, something spectacular, naturally." Rule 2 was explicit. If customers enter after closing time, serve them normally. Check their payment method discreetly. Of course, sir," I replied, falling back on standard Harrods customer service training. "I'll need to call our jewellery specialist for you." "Oh, that's quite all right," the woman examining the rings said. "We're quite familiar with the collection. Been shopping here for years." She selected a stunning Art Deco piece, emerald cut diamonds surrounded by sapphires, easily worth £100,000. "This one, I think, Charles, What do you think? Perfect for you, my darling, Charles replied. Absolutely perfect. The woman turned to me. We'll take it. Certainly, madam. And how will you be paying today? She opened a beaded evening bag and produced a bundle of banknotes, but the money was wrong. Pound notes in denominations that haven't existed since the 1960s, bearing the image of King George VI instead of Queen Elizabeth. Rule 9. Payment in old currency should be accepted and exchanged through special channels. I processed the sale according to our standard procedures, though nothing about this felt standard. The payment system accepted the transaction without question, printing a receipt that showed the current date, but payment in historical currency, exchange rate applied. Lovely service as always, the woman said, admiring her new ring. Harrods never disappoints. Indeed, Charles agreed. We've been shopping here since our engagement in 1926. The quality is consistently exceptional. 1926? These customers have been shopping at Harrods for nearly a century. They walked towards the exit, their footsteps echoing on the marble floor. But instead of leaving through the main doors, which were locked and alarmed, they simply faded away, like morning mist touched by sunlight. I stood alone in the jewellery department, holding a sales receipt for a £100,000 transaction, paid for with money that had been out of circulation for 60 years. Over the next few weeks, I began to understand what Patricia meant about Harrods serving discerning customers. The after-hours clientele was unlike anything I've experienced in my retail career. Rule 3 became relevant during my third week. Never refuse a sale to someone wearing period dress. Their money is always good. I was restocking displays in the designer handbag section when a woman approached the Hermes counter. She wore a magnificent Edwardian dress, bustle, high neckline, intricate beadwork that belonged in a museum. Her hair was arranged in the elaborate style of the early 1900s, and she moved with the practiced grace of someone born to wealth. "Excuse me," she said, her accent placing her in the upper echelons of pre-war society. "I'm looking for a travelling bag, something practical but elegant. I'm touring the continent next month." She was examining bags that cost more than most people's annual salary, handling them with the confidence of someone accustomed to luxury. But her dress, her manner, everything about her suggested she belonged in 1905, not 2025. Perhaps this one?" I suggested, showing her a classic Hermes Kelly bag, very popular with discerning travellers. "Oh, that's lovely," she said, opening and closing the clasp with appreciation. "The craftsmanship is exceptional. How much?" £45,000, madam." She didn't flinch at the price. Old money never does. "Perfect, I'll take it." She opened a purse and began counting out gold sovereigns, actual gold coins bearing the image of King Edward VII, each one worth far more than its face value in today's market. Rule 3 was explicit: their money is always good. I processed the transaction, watching our payment system somehow convert Edwardian gold into contemporary currency. The receipt printed normally, though it noted, "Antique currency, premium exchange applied." "Wonderful service," the woman said, accepting her purchase in a Harrods bag that looked subtly different, green and gold, but with typographic that belonged in the earlier era. "I do love shopping at Harrods, such reliable quality." She walked towards the lifts, but instead of pressing the call button, she simply stepped through the closed doors and disappeared. Rule 4 nearly broke my heart during my fourth week. The Diana and Dodie Memorial must have fresh flowers daily. She still visits. The memorial of Princess Diana and Dodie Al-Fayed is one of Harrods' most moving displays. Photographs, personal items, and fresh flowers change daily as a mark of respect. During opening hours, it's constantly visited by tourists and admirers paying their respects. But 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night, I found someone else there. A woman in an elegant evening dress, blonde hair perfectly styled, placing white lilies at the memorial. She moved with grace and dignity, clearly comfortable in the luxury surroundings. Even from behind, even in the subdued lighting, she was unmistakable. "They were young," she said softly, not turning around but somehow aware of my presence. "So much life ahead of them." I stood frozen, not knowing how to respond to the impossible. "The flowers are beautiful today," she continued, adjusting the lilies with practiced care. "White lilies were always my favourite. Dodie knew that." She turned then, and I saw her face clearly, the same face that had smiled from magazine covers, that had been photographed 10,000 times but never quite looked as radiant as she did now. "You're doing excellent work here," she said with warmth. "Harrods was always special to us. It's good to know it's being properly cared for." Your Highness," I managed, falling back on protocol that felt utterly inadequate. She smiled, transformative smile that had lit up rooms and heart across the world. "Just Diana, please. I'm not really royal anymore, am I?" She moved towards the escalator, her evening dress flowing around her like water. "Take care of this place," she called back. "It holds so many memories." And then she was gone, leaving only the scent of her perfume and the white lilies that seemed to glow in the memorial lighting. By my second month, I'd grown accustomed to serving customers who paid with Victorian coins and shopping for items that wouldn't be fashionable for another 50 years. But Rule 7 introduced me to the most heartbreaking aspect of after-hours Harrods. Children asking for their parents should be directed to the customer services, regardless of what decade they describe. I was checking the toy department when I heard crying, soft, heartbreaking sobbing that immediately triggered every protective instinct I possessed. I followed the sound to find a little girl, perhaps 6 years old, standing lost among the stuffed animals. She wore a blue wool coat and white gloves that looked like they belonged in the 1950s. Her hair was perfectly curled, held back with a ribbon, and her small patent leather shoes were polished to a shine. "Hello, sweetheart," I said gently. Are you alright? Are you alright? Are you alright?" She looked up with tear-filled eyes. "I can't find my mummy and daddy. We were shopping for Christmas presents and I got lost." "Don't worry," I assured her. "We'll find them. What are their names?" "Mr. and Mrs. Pemberton. We live in Chelsea. Daddy said I should choose any dolly I wanted for Christmas, but I got confused by all the pretty things." She pointed to the section of the toy department that displayed vintage dolls, beautiful porcelain faces, elaborate Victorian dresses, the kind of toys that belonged in museums rather than in children's hands. "When did you get separated from them?" I asked. "Just now," she said. "We were looking at Christmas decorations and there were so many people, and then I couldn't see them anymore." Rule 7 was explicit. Direct them to customer services, regardless of the decade they describe. I took her small, cold hand and led her through the corridors that seemed longer than they should have been, past departments that looked subtly different, older signage, vintage fixtures, merchandise arranged in styles that predated modern retail design. Customer services during after hours was staffed by a woman I'd never seen during day shifts. She wore a perfectly tailored suit that looked like a 1950s Harrods uniform, her hair styled in Victorian rolls, her manner professionally compassionate. "Lost your parents, dear?" she asked the little girl with kindness. "Yes, miss. Mr. and Mrs. Pemberton. We were Christmas shopping." "Of course you were. Christmas 1952, wasn't it? Lovely year for Christmas shopping. Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll have you back with them in no time." She led the little girl towards a lift I'd never noticed before. brass fixtures, manual gate, operated by an attendant in vintage Harrods clothing. "Going up to Christmas past," the operator announced. "All aboard for family reunions and holiday joy." The lift door closed, carrying the lost child back to Christmas 1952, where her parents were still waiting, still shopping, still believing their daughter was just exploring the toy department. Rule 8 revealed the most disturbing aspect of Harrods' after-hours operation. If the lift operates on its own, they're collecting customers from other floors. Do not interfere. I was doing my midnight patrol when I noticed the lifts moving constantly, floor indicators lighting up on sequence, the mechanical hum of counterweights and cables moving over time. But according to my security monitors, I was alone in the building. The lifts were collecting customers. I watched through the brass gate windows as the lifts filled with shoppers from different eras. Victorian ladies with their maids, 1920s flappers clutching beaded purses, 1960s socialites in mod dresses, 1980s power shoppers with enormous shoulder pads. Each lift carried customers from Pacific Decade, transporting them to departments that catered to their particular needs and tastes. The Victorian lift stopped at haberdashery and fine linens. The 1920s lift served cocktail wear and jazz age accessories. The 1980s lift headed straight for power suits and statement jewellery. Harrods wasn't just serving current customers, it was serving everyone who had ever shopped there, providing customer service that transcended death, fashion trends that spanned centuries, and shopping experiences that continued regardless of morality. But the most disturbing realisation came when I saw the newest lift, modern, sleek, designed for contemporary customers. It was heading up to departments I didn't recognise, serving shoppers who seemed familiar but wrong somehow. Future customers, people who hadn't even been born yet, shopping for items that didn't exist, paying with currency that hadn't been invented. Harrods wasn't just collecting the shopping desires of the past, it was accumulating the wants and needs of customers who wouldn't exist for decades. The crisis came during the January sales, when the boundary between past, present and future shopping experience collapsed entirely. Every rule accumulated simultaneously, creating a retail emergency that threatened to expose Harrods' supernatural customer base to the living world. It started with Rule 11. If you see yourself shopping in the store, leave immediately and don't return for 7 days. I was restocking the designer shoes department when I saw her, a woman trying on Louboutin heels, examining her reflection in the mirror with the critical eye of someone making an expensive decision. She looked exactly like me, not similar, identical, same face, same hair, same clothes. But she moved with confidence as someone who belonged in this department, someone who could afford £1,000 shoes without checking her bank balance. She was me, but a version of me that somehow achieved the wealth and status to shop at Harrods as a customer rather than work here as security. Rule 11 was explicit: leave immediately. But as I backed away from designer shoes, I saw other impossible customers throughout the store. The after-hours clientele had expanded beyond historical shoppers to include people who couldn't possibly exist. In jewellery, I saw future versions of current world leaders, their faces lined with age, shopping for gifts to commemorate events that hadn't happened yet. In fashion, teenagers who wouldn't be born for another 20 years were trying on clothes made from materials that didn't exist. The men's department served customers from alternative timelines, versions of famous people whose lives had taken different paths. In one impossible scene, I watched an elderly Winston Churchill shopping for retirement clothes, apparently having survived to a peaceful old age in a world where World War II had ended differently. Harrods have become a nexus point where every possible shopping experience existed simultaneously. Past customers who had died decades ago, future customers who wouldn't be born for generations, and alternative customers from timelines that never existed. Patricia found me fleeing towards the exit. Temporal convergence. she explained calmly, as if this was a routine retail emergency. Happens every few years when customers' demand exceeds our ability to maintain chronological boundaries. All of Harrods' shopping history tries to happen at once. What do? Standard protocol: lock the store, let them shop until they're satisfied, then reset the temporary boundaries. By morning, everything will be normal. Through the security monitors, I could see impossible shopping scenes throughout the store. Victorian ladies buying smartphones, future customers purchasing clothes that change colour with their thoughts, and deceased celebrities shopping for items that would have changed history if they lived to use them. How long has this been happening? Since 1849, Patricia replied. Harrods has always been more than a department store. We're a fulfillment centre for human desire itself. Some wants are so powerful they create their own reality. The store reset itself just before dawn, reality snapping back into place like a rubber band. The impossible customers faded away, the temporal anomalies resolved, and Harrods returned to being merely the world's most famous department store. But I understood now why they needed the rules, why they paid security staff so well to work nights, and why some desires were too powerful for death to diminish. I still work night securities at Harrods. 18 months later, I've served customers from every era of London's history, processed payment in currencies that predate modern banking, and maintained customer service standards that make Harrods legendary. The 11 rules aren't just employee guidelines, they're protocols for managing retail that serves desires too powerful morality to contain. Some people want things so intensely that death becomes just another inconvenience in their shopping experience. If you ever visit Harrods during the opening hours, you'll see exactly what you expect. Luxury retail at its finest, serving the world's most discerning customers with unparalleled service and quality. But remember, as you shop among the beautiful displays and helpful staff, that some of your fellow customers have been shopping here much longer than you might think. Some have been loyal Harrods customers for over a century, and some will continue shopping here long after you're gone. Because at Harrods, customer service doesn't end with death, it just changes departments. Sweet dreams, and remember, everyone deserves exceptional service, regardless of their current state of existence.